All right, welcome to another video from the chart reader. So we are looking at the meme stocks for a second time. The last time we looked at them was on August 1st. So if you look, the lines pretty well did help guide this up. So I hope you've used this video to mark it, right? So again, we made this video at the end of close on the 1st. I'm more than confident the reason there's no line in the middle here is basically because this 200 moving average was that line. We broke it the next day, hit the first of the lines the following, and then obviously from the next ones, we literally just, this wall stopped it, brought it down, almost looked like it failed, but I would say the 8 caught it, and then all the way up to just above my line. And then boom, not only do we break this line, but actually come above our other line before coming down, right? So this was a pretty good and was that actually the last line we drew? That was the last line we drew. So overall, this did pretty well. So this is still a very important wall. By no means has it broken this, 47 number, right? It clearly tested it today, but definitely did not pass it, right? I'll put another line or two up here just in case we do get a break. I think that's a good one, and I think that's a good one. I'll also just put this one right in between these two right here. So actually that one's a little too close. Whatever, I'm already put it. So here's a couple steps up. Again, there's a pretty good gap. I could have probably put one right there, I think, just to put something basically at 50, right? But nonetheless, that's okay. I think these are pretty good climbs up. This will be a really important wall, though, this 47, right? Because this is the peak. This is the last peak in the recent while, right? Obviously, this is another peak. Don't get me wrong. I see that. But this was the last big peak that we saw, right? So you can see what happens when we break this peak. You get a nice jump, right? Hopefully this breaks and it goes up. Like I said, that's why there's a bit of a gap. Otherwise, we might come down just a little bit. But nonetheless, since we've made these videos, the lines did help. And just kind of zooming in on the lower indicators here, right? So that's a nice MACD we've got going, right? There's a pretty good takeoff. This is staying pretty flat. That is bullish. Same with here, right? It's not too high. Look, once it's in the 70, 73, 75 range, that's when I kind of start getting a little worried about the RSI, but a high to mid 60, that's still rideable. So hopefully this opens just anywhere above close for 426, and I would pretty much ride that to the 47, and that's about 10%. There's about $4 right there. So game looking bullish on the daily. So AMC. Again, we made this video on the 1st. I'll be honest, I remember saying that I was a little more bullish on this one than the other one, and clearly you could see it. I will tell you, I bought in, I rode this up. I actually got stomped out on my stop loss here, so I unfortunately did not get to ride the complete wave, but hey, I did take a pretty nice little profit from this. But what basically happened, right? So again, we made the video on the 1st. This 100 was the big line, right? Not only did it break the 100, it broke this 1590 line that we drew, came all the way here, came all the way here. This was the earnings is actually what happened. They released some earnings, and I don't know if they were good or bad. Nonetheless, like I said, I got stopped out. But it opened pretty low, but pretty much right on the 8. It almost exactly on the 8. And then just flew on up across all my lines, breaking the 200 and then giving a little bit of a confirmation today. So I will say the RSI is a little high, right? So this is definitely 77. I kind of call that wall 80, right? I've seen it go above 80, don't get me wrong, but I could see some cooling off. I can actually see this coming down almost to this either 20 number that we have here, the 2071, or actually the 200 line one more time, because again, you see it on this 100, right? You break 100, you kind of come back down and then eventually go again, right? So we've broken this, we might come back down and then take off again. So I imagine a little cool off because this high RSI, but yeah, since the 1st, it's been some real good days here. So AMC actually was rolling. I stopped looking at Nokia, so I'm going to see this with you guys for the first time, right? So we made this video on the 1st. there was a very, very big gap up, but it clearly, the line that we drew is a pretty hard line here, this 525. Was there another one above 525? There was. There's actually a couple above 525. So really not too much movement since our last video because it couldn't break this 525. Look, we've basically been above the 8 the entire time, but this resistance was so hard that it just kind of kept bouncing, and it looks like we might be losing the 8. And it looks like the RSI is getting a little over, right? So that's the problem with having a high RSI and coming up to a pretty big wall, right? You need the momentum to break through it, right? So that's what happens when you have no momentum. 8 can only do so much, right? That's why I do stress the RSI. I kind of use the MACD more as my confirmation, right? So Nokia is actually the least bullish of the three of the bearish, if you will, of all three of them, right? So GameStop and AMC looking a little better. BB. Oh, wow, look at this, BB. I'll be honest, I did not look at BB. I had no idea that this one was actually killing it as well. So look, again, we made this video on the first. This 613 line was pretty much right on that 100 line. And look, it broke it, comes right up to the next line the next day. Pretty much sits here, right, for about 3 trading days before, boom, taking off and actually testing our 707. So these lines were pretty good, and I do hope that you use the first video to ride these gains. My cat's in the background. I gotta let her out. What are you doing? I know. There you go. All right, sorry about that. But again, hopefully you're seeing the power of these lines, right? Let's see if we have any other lines above. So we don't. Let's make a couple more lines just in case. Obviously, we're coming up to this 200, right? So that's an easy one to see. But let me make a line there. Let me make a line there. That's actually pretty good. Not bad. I think I'm only going to use those two. So this 740 looks like it might pretty much line up with the 200 in the next day or two as well, right? So I imagine that'll come to play. But BlackBerry, I don't remember this one standing out on the last video. Maybe it did, and I got to go back and look at that. But clearly, this would have been a nice one to ride. I regret a little bit not, if you want to know the truth. Oops, sorry. The next one is PSNY, so Polestar. I'll be honest, today's action really was the first, this was nice to see. So obviously, and again, look, I'll be honest, I don't even remember. I wish I used my video a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't realize this. So look, this $9 one was the first real line because again, we made the video at the end of August 1st, right? So once it broke this line, it's just been ripping up all the way through actually. So we're almost at a 10% gain at this point since we've made the video, right? Again, it's not too much, but yeah, basically 90 cents would have been 10%. We're sitting at, 10%. That's not bad. Again, don't get mad at 10% over 1 week, right? Like there are 52 weeks. You do that every week. You've just made 500%, right? So believe me when I said if you rode looked like most of these were about a 10%er in the last week, some a lot more. I know that with AMC. I got more than 10% with my stop out even. So, but yeah, nonetheless, we're really coming up on the last major line. So it seems like we've broken the 985, excuse me. If we can get to or break 1012, yeah, there's a real good chance this thing can run. Really, the very last line is 1021. That's the close of this high, right? So, yeah, this one could be really interesting. And again, look at these lines, right? That's a pretty nice slope up, and we're only at the high 50s. And the MACD is finally coming to 0, and that's a nice little up. And there is no red yet, right? So again, I don't really know the math that has to come from the reds, but yeah, there's not too many more videos to make. So from there, this is going to be the last one. We'll check it out shortly. I hope you've learned from this.